All right. Good morning and welcome to the Christmas Eve 2020 edition of the Thursday briefing. We appreciate you joining us. We actually have a little bit to talk about, and most of it's geared towards the first 24 hours. And 2020 just keeps giving, and when we should be expecting, cooler weather, hopeful for a little bit of snow. We're actually having to deal with a severe weather threat. And if you have been looking outside your window or out and about, you have probably been a little wet because we've had rain overspreading the area over the last few hours. So basically, we have a strong cold front that's coming through, and behind that cold front is some very cold Arctic air. And that's going to move through late this evening and into the early overnight hours. And that's basically generally the main focus for the next 7 days. As you look at our weather map here, Saturday and into early next week, high pressure will be in control. There will be a dry cold front that comes through on Monday. But again, it's dry, no moisture to work with as that front moves through. Behind this cold front, temperatures will really drop tonight and especially tomorrow. And so we're going to be below normal basically through Saturday. And then we're going to moderate to around normal by Sunday and Monday. Monday should be the warmest day of the next several days. Temperatures should warm above normal for Monday and then cool back down to near normal behind that dry cold front Monday night. And then our next weather system looks like it's going to come in at the earliest late Wednesday evening and making for another wet Thursday. So the wet trend that we've seen looks like it's going to continue. As we look at the severe thunderstorm potential, I think everybody's aware of this. For this time of year, we actually have a very good chance to see some severe storms. As you can tell, we have a slight to enhanced risk across central and eastern North Carolina. The probability of seeing severe storms is a little bit less across the triad, but especially that I-95 corridor, that's what we're going to be watching very closely. And those severe storms or the best probability of seeing the severe storms, that could try to creep into eastern portions of the triangle. And that will take place. The greatest threat will be later this afternoon and into the evening. And you can see that once we get beyond today, we're really not expecting any threat for severe weather. If you are friends on Facebook or you follow us on Twitter, you've probably seen this image or you've seen our briefing package. We're basically in a 3 to a 5, a 3 category in the threat range across eastern North Carolina. It still looks like the greatest threat, again, is along that I-95 corridor. And the hours is looking somewhere in that 3 o'clock time frame to about 10 p.m. I'll show you some additional graphics later, and we'll talk about a little bit more details. But the main threat is going to be damaging winds, and we also will have a threat of some isolated tornadoes. With this being December and everybody's minds are focused on the holiday activities the next few days, we just want everybody to remember our safety call to actions. Know where you need to go if a tornado warning is issued. We talk about basements or the lowest floor in your house and getting into the interior closets or bathrooms. And remember, no weather radio is still one of the fastest ways to receive alerts of pending thunderstorm warnings or tornado warnings. So here's a graphic, and I want to tell everybody for a disclaimer, these graphics, this is a forecast, and you should just use this for general timing and planning purposes. But as you can see, around 1 o'clock, and I'm sorry I don't have the current radar, But currently, the main rain band is right across central North Carolina. So it's been pretty wet here in the Triangle. And if you go a little bit to our west, we've already had 3/4 of an inch of rain. But that main band is still going to be focused across central North Carolina. So people living in that Durham and Chapel Hill area, and including Western Wake, you're going to continue to see the rain move through there in the next few hours. And then as we go into the afternoon hours, the mid-afternoon and late afternoon hours, we're expecting to see additional storms move up out of South Carolina and go into our eastern corridor. And it is, as you look at the 7 p.m. graphic, it is in that eastern corridor of storms where the tornado threat will be greatest. So we will be watching that very closely. So Sampson County, Wayne County, Edgecombe County, and even Halifax County, we're going to have to watch out for those storms rotating and potentially producing a tornado. Now, if you look back to the west of the Triangle, there's another line, and that's going to be right along the cold front. And, that line will also have a threat of mostly isolated tornadoes, but the main threat with that's going to be a primary damaging wind threat. So you're going to see that line that's going to come through, and along that line, don't be surprised to see some severe thunderstorm warnings as that moves through. Then as you get into around the late evening hours, around between 10 and midnight, as you can see depicted in this lower left image, and this is trying to differentiate between a P-type. As the precip starts to move east and starts to exit the area, this is behind the cold front. The cold air is coming in on the backside, and it's possible that we could see the precipitation start to mix with some snow before it ends. And that would be during the early overnight hours. No accumulations are expected at this time. We also, and this is no coincidence, we have a wind advisory in effect for our eastern counties, especially, again, along that I-95 corridor. Now, again, it's no coincidence that this is where we expect what we call instability to develop at the surface. And when that develops at the surface, we'll start seeing the winds really start to pick up this afternoon, which will allow some of those stronger winds to start to mix down to the surface. Now, when that happens, even outside of convection, we could see wind gusts of 35 to 45 miles per hour. And when you have winds that strong, we can see some trees and small trees and some tree limbs damage. Accumulated rainfall amounts. Again, most of our rainfall is going to be here in the next 12 to 18 hours with relatively dry conditions until we get into Wednesday night, Thursday. If we zoom a little bit further in, these are the rainfall amounts we are expecting. So you can see overall, we're talking about another soaking rain event, making for a continued very wet year. And rainfall amounts will be around an inch. There will be some isolated amounts of inch and a half, maybe even 2 inches possible, especially across central NC, where, as I mentioned, we've had this band set up this morning. In fact, when I was looking at some earlier rainfall reports, we were already seeing some 3/4 of an inch in that Chapel Hill and Burlington and Durham areas. Now, since we've been so wet, two things we need to look out for. There's some minor flash flooding possible, and that's going to be mostly in your urban and poor drainage areas. And then we could also see some minor flooding on some of our main stem rivers, like the Hall River at Bynum and Neuse River at Smithfield. That would be at earliest late tonight and into Friday. As I mentioned, behind this cold front tonight, we're going to have very strong cold air advection and the coldest air of the season. And temperatures will occur, actually the highs for Christmas Day will occur right at midnight. And then temperatures are just going to pretty much steadily drop late Christmas morning and into the afternoon. Now, when you combine that with frequent wind gusts of 15 to 25 miles per hour, we're expecting wind chills in the lower 20s to near freezing during the daylight hours when most people are going to be out and about. So you're going to need to dress up if you plan on being outdoors, and dress in layers. Also, and this is different from what we're expecting late this evening overnight, there will be additional snow flurries possible by late tomorrow and through the afternoon, and that's in association with a very strong upper trough moving through the area. Again, no accumulations are expected, but it will be a nice treat for us to see snowflakes actually falling on Christmas Day. If you go back and look, the last time we've had any type of snow amount falling on Christmas Day, you have to go back to 2010 at both RDU and Greensboro. And then prior to that, you have to go back to 1999 and 1998. So you're talking about, looks like once every 10 years, roughly, we get to see some, at least trace amounts of snow falling on Christmas Day. The winter weather outlook, because we're really not expecting any accumulations, you're not seeing any probabilities of seeing significant snowfall across the area. As we look into, the week 2 probabilities, we see that really cold air is going to be short-lived. That's basically going to be Christmas Day and on Saturday, and then we're going to start to moderate. And generally, we should be at or above normal for that 6 to 10 day period. And it looks like we're going to continue to be wet because that system coming in on Thursday looks pretty wet as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up seeing another widespread ½ to an inch. And you'll see something very similar as we get into the 8 to 14 day outlook. So for now, that forecast of drier winter is kind of on the back burner. We continue to look like we're going to be in a relatively wet pattern. Finally, as a summary, severe storms this afternoon and this evening. We've highlighted the threat, especially from the triangle eastward. The main threat should be damaging winds, but there will also be a risk of isolated tornadoes. As the precipit's starting to pull out tonight, we could see some wet snowflakes before it ends, and then we could see additional flurries Christmas Day. But the real weather story here is going to be very cold and blustery conditions. Then after that, we're expecting dry conditions Saturday through Wednesday with temperatures moderating to or just above normal. And then rain chances start to return late Wednesday night and Thursday. Finally, on behalf of our family here at the Weather Service, we want to wish you and yours Merry Christmas and have a happy holidays. And we wish everyone to stay safe.